Hello, are you here to debate?
Yep.
Okay, what's your name, age, and pronouns, please?
Jason, 22, and he, him.
Jason, 22, he, him. Okay, Jason, what topic on the board were you calling to debate about today?
The trans debate.
Okay, did you listen to the previous call, or are you new to the stream?
Well, both. I listened to the previous call, and this is the first time I've seen you.
Okay. Do you disagree that trans women are women and trans men are men?
Yes.
Okay. What's your basis for disagreement?
I wanted to, because you didn't get into it with the last caller. I was gonna ask, so like why? All right, so me as a black man, right? Why can't I say that? Why can't I say I'm white now?
Sure. Sex and our gender and race are going to be two different types of classifications. Gender is an internal critique of the self. It's about how your brain engages with your own biological sexual makeup, and how that brain then engages with the society around you and the cultural and social norms created in that society. Race is a legal classification placed upon people by some state governance. Race didn't exist until race needed to exist in order to oppress. Race is an external classification. So the reason why I am identified as black is because legally I'm identified as black. There's a legal distinction between races, and I was deemed black, right? It's not because I have some inherent thought process of being black, right? That doesn't exist. I might have some level of shared cultural stuff with other black people, but there is no there's no part of your brain that's going like, oh, I am a black man, right? Like you wouldn't even, if you were raised to not see race, you wouldn't know black from white, right? You would just know that you look a little different from somebody else. So the way I distinguish them is that race is an external classification and gender is an internal classification.
Okay, and I had a point that you said when you were bringing up the GMC and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I had a point when I was thinking when you said that it wouldn't change the fundamental nature of it. You just be a broken down GMC. You see what I'm trying to get at?
No, it would change the nature of the road. The roads. So in the example that I gave, the road is going to be the stand-in for woman, right? The cars are stand-ins for traits. So all these cars can still run. The cars are just different traits. And in order to run on this road, you must possess that trait that makes you a woman, right? So when I say, here comes a car, like two cars, a Ford and a Ferrari that can both give birth, those cars can go on the road, because remember, that's what the previous caller said. He said giving birth was the trait that was necessary. But then here comes a car that can still drive, it just can't give birth. That car shouldn't be allowed on the road now, but it is. So then giving birth can't be the trait that makes it so you can drive on this road. Because even if you can't give birth, you can still drive on the road.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Honestly, that's really all I wanted to talk about. Honestly, I just wanted to see your point more on that, specifically on the race thing, because that's the main thing I disagree with. But honestly, I still disagree with you. But hey,
what's the disagreement? Because what is the thing that you like? What's your race? Like, what race are you?
I'm a black man.
Okay. Are you a black man because you wake up and you feel black? Or are you a black man because the government has deemed you black and therefore you're thrown into this racial category?
No, it's that I look at my skin and I see that I'm colored, and I also come from African descent.
Yeah, so you're just describing a shared lineage, right? Gender wouldn't be about some shared lineage, right? So when we're talking about race and the creation of race, right, and how race has been utilized, black, white, these racial distinctions are fairly new when it comes to human history. Now, there were still differences in phenotype. Obviously, when we say we have black skin, we're not saying we all have the same color skin. I'm black and you're black. Do you look darker than I do?
Uh, I ain't gonna lie, we probably the same shade.
Okay, let's say we have somebody who's black and darker, or somebody who's black and much lighter. They're still classified black, even though our skin color is not the same in any way, shape, or form, right? Even though
Right.
I might be mixed with white, I'm still legally classified as black, even though half of me is white, right? Like my grandmother is a white woman, right? It doesn't matter. Legally, I'm classified as black because race is a legal started as a legal classification. We don't like, I don't feel like a black man, right? And even then you go, what does a black man feel like? It's like when we look at that comparatively to gender, right? Like I said, gender is the way our brains interpret our own sex. Our brains aren't interpreting our race past saying this color means you're this.
Thank you, boo.
I see your thought process, but like me personally, I still have to say that like me being like okay, like man, I just fucking.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think Italian people are white?
No, I think they're Italians.
I'm not asking about their nationality. I'm asking about their race.
Right, and I think, and I honestly, I've always been under the assumption that Italians would be of the Latino like descent. You know, I wouldn't
Latino?
like classify them as white.
Yeah, sub on Twitch, nice.
There's white Latinos. That's an ethnicity. I'm talking about race. Are there black Puerto Rican people?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there black Dominican people?
Right.
Are there black Cuban people?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm asking about race specifically, not about ethnicity or nationality. So Italian people, typically, what race are they going to be?
Then they would fall under the white category.
Yeah. But for decades, Italians weren't classified as white. They weren't classified as white. Like legally you weren't white if you were Italian. Because race is not an internal thing. It's an external thing. There are even examples of God, I would have to go back and look this up. It's been such a long time, of black people who were classified legally as white because of some X, Y, or Z thing that happened. I don't have the example off the top of my head. I'd have to like look it back up. It's been a while since I read about it. But all of this essentially, Irish people too. Irish people were not classified as white by like the general the general legal majority. They weren't classified as white. So like this tells me in just the relation humans have with race, it's an entirely external thing. It's not internal. What would be internal is like the shared cultural oppression that black people face, right? That's something internal, right? Well, internal in the way that we like internalize it, and like we can all share some common level of understanding with each other because we all go through that,
right?
But like, I don't know, like, what does it mean to be black? Like, all I have to do to be black is to have a black phenotype, right? And come from an ethnic background of black people. So that would be my stance on that.
But I feel like the gender is different though. Like as in like
I agree.
Not different completely, but like different as in like it's I don't know. Gender
is vastly different because when it comes to gender, our brains like to categorize. We just have human brains that categorize things, and and that internal categorization, the internal way that we categorize things directly ties into how we identify, right? So because our brains do this and it's unconscious and it happens automatically, when it comes to gender, our brains are categorizing internally in a gendered way. When we look at things, whether you agree with it or not, our brains will sometimes be, this is for boys, this is for girls. And it's not because we necessarily believe that this needs to be some way that we structure things socially or societally. It's just because our brains have classified our own understanding of these things in that way, right? So our brain doesn't really do this in a racial way, right? Our brains weren't really programmed that way. Race is a learned thing. It's a learned behavior. It's all of those things are learned, whereas gender, I don't know if I would say gender comes naturally, but like the classification on things gendered seems to be the case, that's just a way our brains naturally classify.
But at the same time, though, like, okay, like, all right, for instance, the trait thing, I would say for your trait, for like the traits to classify you as a woman, that you would have to be biologically born female, to be classified, like be able to have like not have kids, but like born with a uterus, you know.
Sure, we can look at those two
And
things.
then
Like if
obviously,
you're
like,
saying that in order to go on this road, you have to be born female and you have to have a uterus. Well, one
yeah,
of those we would have to cut out because plenty of women are born without uteruses. Plenty of like female body people are born without uteruses in their body. So it can't be that. And the next, be born female, tons of creatures are born female. My cat was born female. But you and I both know that we wouldn't classify animals in the same way. And that's because gender reaches some other level of social classification, which is the human part. Now you could make the claim like, hey, in order to be a woman, you must be born female and be human. And that, if those are your necessary conditions, sure, we can get into the latter, the female part, and I think that will break it a little bit, but that's fine. But like, let's just say human and male, must be human, must be born male. And that makes you a man, right? I'm going to use man for my example. But let's just hypothetically, not saying that this is a real thing, but like, let's just roll with the thought experiment. Let's say fucking Superman is real.
okay,
Superman wouldn't be a man, right? What is he?
he'd be a Kryptonian.
Yeah, so you like, his name is like inherently wrong. Now, me and you both know if Superman was real, whether he's an alien or not, we would still consider him a man. We would call him he. We wouldn't be sitting here going, "Oh, well, you're lying if you call him he, him," right? Because there's some social thing that he's exhibiting that registers as man to us. It's not just about his DNA or his anatomy or things like that. It goes into some other categorization that our brains do.
Okay, so like with but with Superman though, right? He still has like human male genitalia to be able to procreate with the.
He wouldn't have human male genitalia. He has Kryptonian male genitalia.
True, but it's still compatible enough to mate with a human female.
Sure, but that doesn't mean that just means that his DNA, that Kryptonian DNA and human DNA are similar enough that they can reproduce. It doesn't mean that they're of the same species. Plenty of interspecies can reproduce.
They're compatible enough to reproduce. You got John Kent.
Yeah, but what does that mean? He's still not human. Just because his DNA is compatible with humans doesn't mean that he is a human.
No, I'm not arguing that he's human. I'm arguing that he's male.
You can
by our standards.
Wait. You can make the argument that he's male. You can make the argument that he's male. Sure, that it would appear to be that Kryptonians reproduce in the same sexual dimorphic way as humans, right? Absolutely, he could be male. But if we're saying that Superman is male, and therefore that makes him a man, but he's not human, then I can make the claim that literally any animal is a man that is male. Because you don't have to be human to be a man. You just have to be a male.
But if you reproduce in the same way that a male does from any other species, then yeah, you would be a male.
Yes, but I'm not talking about what are male and men, right? When I'm having the conversation about gender, we're talking about what's a man and what's a woman.
but that would inherently make you a male, and men are usually male.
Wait,
And not
hold
even
on.
just
I
usually, they are
agree.
male.
Something you said just now, I agree with. Men are usually male. I agree. Most of the time, if you're a male, you're also a man. Human wise, right? I agree with that. But sometimes, right, I'll take your word usually and I'll change it to typically. Men are typically male, but some men aren't. They're going to be the atypical. They're going to be men who are not male.
They would still have, like, majority of the statistics, not the statistics, they have majority of the traits to still be put in a male category.
What are the, okay. So now we have to look at those traits. In order to be considered a male, what traits must you possess? What is the necessary condition?
Like, you don't have to be all or nothing. Like,
well, if we're claiming that a category is exclusionary, it does have to have a necessary condition to it. That's the only way to make it an exclusionary category. If there is nothing that's required of you to be in said category, then there's nothing barring anyone else from being in said category. We don't have that necessary condition. So if you're telling me that there is, like, being a male, there's not anything necessary to be a male, but being a male is what you must possess to be a man, well, then we can't make that determination if there's not a necessary for male as well.
I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, I see what you're saying, and like, I just can't agree with you, honestly.
Okay, so we're in sort of the same area I was in with the last caller, right? You have this disagreement. You don't really know why you're disagreeing, right? Like, you're recognizing that, like, what I'm saying makes logical sense, and you're fighting right now against some intuition that you have that's saying to you, well, trans people can't be the gender that they say they are, right? I am okay with us having a disagreement on this, but you would need to articulate why you have that disagreement. I think if we disagree with people, but we can't really articulate the logical reasons why we have those disagreements, I think we're just fighting against changing our minds at that point.
Yeah,
and there's nothing
arguing just to argue.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with you changing your mind on this topic, right? It doesn't change who you are. I think it might make you a little bit better of a person, because I think that, like, just acceptance in general is better than non-acceptance. But, like, there's nothing wrong with taking in new information. You might not be able to do it today. It might not be something our brains fight so hard to change. They literally actively, like, it's like they do it on the chemical level. They fight themselves. So it might not be something you do today. You might need to think about it for a little bit. But if you can look at the things that I'm telling you, and you can say logically, everything he's saying makes sense. It makes sense that there's not some one biological trait that connects an entire gender to another. It makes sense that we engage in gender in some social way. It makes sense that it's this internal critique of how we look at ourselves. If you can see all of this, right? And you're saying, well, I disagree just because, then I think you know as well as I know that, like, one, it seems your mind is open to change a little bit more than others, but, like, you don't have that logical reason not to change it.
I see what you mean.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to do the same thing as the last guy, I'll post this video. You go back and watch it, and maybe call back in after you've watched it and, like, thought about it for a little bit. But like I said, I think you have the ability to change, and I think you should take that ability that you have and utilize it anytime you get new information about something.
Yeah, I feel it. Yeah, all right, I'll do that. I'm glad that you're able to actually have conversations with people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. You have a good rest of your day.
All right. Yep, you too, bro.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. Please consider liking and subscribing for your daily dose of debates. I post new videos daily, so make sure to hit that notification button so you know when a new one drops. Also, shout out to my YouTube members. Membership starts at $2.99 and helps me to continue making content for all of you. Also, shout out to my Tier 4 members, Gib5500, Ovaltine, Sylvia Snow, Bamji, Kelsey K, Kelsey Dooley, Jake Gorshender, Marceline, Matthew Holloway, Kazim, Vampy, and Yemye. Thank you, members, for your support.